Good morning. I think we're live. Yes. And welcome to our live stream this morning. Let me get this fully opened up so I can see your questions as they come in. But you might see the opening picture today. I had these colors ready to show you. These are for use in bronze, dye-oxide patinas from Sculpt Nouveau. And one of the frustrations that occurred during the years we were trying to get bronzes done was we were always unhappy with the patinas. Not until the very end of our doing bronze were we starting to be happy with the patinas, but part of it was because it takes an expertise in the foundry to really do a patina well. And if you're not there with the torch yourself, and as you're the artist and you want to create your vision in the color stage of your sculpture, if you can't control the patina, it's very frustrating. So this is kind of neat because another bronze artist introduced me to the dye-oxide patinas from Sculpt Nouveau. And they're not like bright colors like paint would be. Hi, Al. Good morning. These are where you apply them to bronze, and then you use a heat gun to kind of anneal them to the bronze. And you might have a uh, a patina on like a regular uh, typical bronze patina, some kind of oxide, and then you can layer these over and create really decent coloration in bronze metal. So this was one of the inspirations too. If I were to do this, finish doing, this was my rough, I haven't done a thing to it, and I'm going to do some things now. But if you were going to go all the way and take it to bronze, there are some new color options that kind of make it exciting for the artist because you can do this yourself, even if you're not highly technical with a torch and in a foundry setting, you can do it in your own home studio. So that's kind of cool. And I'm kind of comparing things. Here's a little bird uh, that actually Chuck did, and I did the China painting in multiple stages and firings, the little blue bird. And let me show you the detail on that close up so you can kind of see where we were trying for really nice detail. This is porcelain. Let me show you the bottom. What's it say? Okay, there we go. Oldham porcelain's 1993. Okay. um, Al, it's not different colors for clay. It's different colors. If I were to get a mold put on this and have it cast in bronze, I can now um, have a lot of colors to choose from for the final metal finishing. So it's kind of neat to be able to do that yourself. You can do that yourself. You can buy this product from Sculpture Depot and put it on your bronze metal and have a heat gun and just get it maybe to 150 to 200 degrees. They say 200, and get some colors on the metal. So, that's the whole idea. But this little bird, this was actually an idea from a pic. I guess the picture was an Audubon of a puffy little bluebird. He was sort of mad and cold, and he had his feathers all puffed out. So that's where that came from, that idea. But the colors you could get in porcelain, I guess my point is showing the frustration when we went on to bronze. You could not get the rich colors that you can in porcelain. And if you go to, I'm going to put that there. Let me grab something over here. If you go to resin, and here's these little cats of baseball that I showed in a previous show. This is resin unpainted. Um, we made a whole team of cats playing baseball. Anyway, hi, Mark. And so these are just painted resin sculptures. I mean, you still have a lot of detail, and you know, it can really go a long way. Let's see, we have the cats of baseball. That's what we called it. I'll put it where it's right side up. There we go. That was my little drawing. But the problem with resin, it's undervalued. It's devalued, really. The market was flooded with resin, and resin sculptures, and it just doesn't have a sense of value. But that's not the worst problem. I knew some really good sculptors who also had a reproduction business with resin, and they're no longer with us. It's a very toxic process, and if you breathe a lot of that in, and I knew another guy who was a mold maker and did a lot of resin casting, and he said he only had 40% of his lung capacity left. So I'm not sure we want to recommend resin, even though it has a lot of possibilities and it's very tough. It's not that breakable. It's, got a lot of good qualities. It has no long-term um, evidence that it holds up over time. It's only been a relatively new development in technology, and it's just been devalued. And in our lifetime, I don't think it will ever really hold a value like porcelain and bronze. However, I just wanted to add, yeah, resin sculpture and porcelain would have been huge. Um, yes, yeah. The thing is, though, I want to steer you towards safety too. And there's two great things about plaster. First of all, plaster can be insanely detailed. So if I put a rubber mold on my finished clay, and this kind of modeling clay is designed for rubber molds to go on top of your finished product. Okay, so if you make a rubber mold on this, and now you also create a plaster kind of mother mold to hold it in shape, and you take them apart and you cast this in plaster. That's a long explanation and a long process. And I'm planning to get into that, not possibly until this spring. And that's because I'm finishing my school. I'm almost done, guys. I'm getting there. And so what I want to do is start casting things and making the plaster models and refining those plaster models so you can see what this is the process we use to go into porcelain. However, instead of ending up with a plaster mold, we'll have a rubber mold and we'll cast it in plaster. And then I have a million zillion tools to show you how to refine that plaster so that it is like so sharp and so detailed and so beautiful looking. And then from there, we could paint it with oil. We seal it and paint it with oil paints if we want, or not. But plaster as a material has held up in fine sculpture for centuries. And Rodin has an example, as an example, has a lot of sculpture that is, worth a fortune that is in plaster. So there's plaster sculpture from the turn of the century as well that's held up and is considered very valuable. So, okay, it's a little more breakable than resin, but it's gypsum. It's a material that it's a mineral. It will hold up. And there are ways to strengthen it too. So you could even have an armature, and this is my this is pretty crude, but I have a little piece holding this up while I work on it. You can have an armature in metal, wrap it in plaster bandages. So you wet them and you wrap it and then put a plaster on top of that, like that you slurry on, and it sets up pretty quickly, but then you can carve it back. So you could make these fine tendril things in plaster. And I'm just looking at your comments. Yes. Um, I know. I wanted to show Mark this too. These are different colors for bronze, not clay, but bronze. But if you turn this into bronze, there's still a chance you're not going to get it as bright as the porcelain example I showed earlier. And Mark, as a bird carver, look, you can see the detail that we got in porcelain back in the day. And this was our own produced porcelain. We tried to get our own studio going. 1993, guys. Oh, boy. Yes, it ages me. Oh, well. The good thing about being older is knowing a lot of things. Thank you, Mark. I have a lot of knowledge that makes me a little dangerous, actually. But this is good. So I want to share that with you. That's my goal. So if we make a mold on this and we cast this in plaster and we're going to cut it apart to do that. Maybe the bird is cast with the mold, and then maybe I do creatively the support, and then maybe the bottom is plaster, and you can then make undercuts and create another batch of plaster and put it all together in plaster. So it has integrity as a design. It's strong, maybe a little bit delicate, but so is everything that would be done like this. Even bronze can break. So my goal is to steer you in the right direction with safer materials, not lung destroying materials, um, and to try to also use materials that have value so that if you create something, it's like when Mark creates a wood sculpture, it has intrinsic value because that's the only one that was done by hand. It's not this thing that came out of a zillion of them came out of a mold the way resin can. As a matter of fact, we did the original models and then um, they were first clay, then plaster, then another mold, then resin. Then they were sent over to China by this company that wanted to reproduce them. We never got them reproduced, at least we didn't think so. And then, lo and behold, I found one on eBay with that company's stamp on the bottom. So they're long gone, but they produced it without our knowledge and we didn't think it was going to be produced. That's one of many, many stories. That's why I tell people don't do this to make a living. If you do make money with it, great, but do it because you love it and it's fun and rewarding to you, your family, your friends. And the fewer, if you don't make any reproductions, that's the ideal. If you want to make a few reproductions from a plaster mold and finish each one by hand yourself, that still holds the value. So, I'm talking about under 30 that you did yourself and hand finished. So anyway, there's always this idea that, oh, well, somebody else made money with it. It's just it's never a guarantee. So yes, the uniqueness creates the value for sure. And the fineness of it, the care that it obviously evidences. And so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go forward. I got the raccoon, but what I didn't wanna do is bore you with just sitting here and working on the fur. It takes a while, and I'm gonna put a movie on and try to finish that. It's sitting over there, and then we'll start with the corn and the final finishings that I wanna do really well. Yes, artists need to lawyer up to yeah, we didn't do that quite enough. And then the problem is we did the few times we did that, it didn't make any difference, lawyering up, Al is talking about, because, the companies just don't wanna hire you if they think you're arming yourself legally and you have great contracts. They just wanna find someone else, and ultimately, they, chose the Asian companies that said, "Okay, we'll do the manufacturing, but hey, we'll also do the prototype for free as well." And that we could not compete with free. That didn't work. So I have some hot clay here, and it took me a while to get back to all this because of the experiences, and I kind of need to write a little book about those experiences from Franklin Mint to Lenox to Danbury Mint to Hamilton Collection to Bradford Exchange. There's a story. There's a crazy story with every one of them. The Franklin Mint is probably the worst, but and they're not producing these things anymore. So it tells you the story that they're get rich quick method using sculpture and sculptors did not ultimately work. Um, so this is why art should just be fun and therapeutic as a motivation. And now what I'm doing right now, I'm just going to start to build up this branch. I'll probably take my little mark. I'm embarrassed to show you this bird. It's a quick sketch. It's going to be let's see. Um, as you can see, I have it used to be called the Louisiana Tanager. Can you see that there? It's now known as the Western Tanager. And um, Al is saying brutal, what's he saying? Brutal cutting, corner cutting practices. Yes, practically destroy. Yes. And you don't go into a jewelry store these days. Let me dismiss that. and find these kinds of porcelains or bronzes. I mean, you don't see what you used to see back in the day before the markets were destroyed. But anyway, Mark, this bird is going to be very detailed. Don't worry. In clay. I think over the weekend, and I've already started it, but I don't want to show you yet. I'm going to create a detailed pattern for the bird. And Mark, he's a Mark Maker is a wood sculptor and does beautifully detailed birds, um, carved birds in wood. And what I'll do is create the pattern for this Western Tanager, just real simple patterns, maybe not real detailed, so people can download and follow them. So we have an accurate um, proportion of the bird that you can follow along with if you want to do that. And you don't even have to make this um, little support I made for the bird that kind of give a simulation of wood. Over here also I have Gamble quail, excuse me, Gamble quail, Gamble oak. Gamble quail is another bird I want to give. Gamble oak is out here in the mountain forests, and they have really cute little acorns. So you can imagine that detail. It makes it fun. And yeah, Mark is saying he does studies. He does really detailed studies, which is great. Um, Western Tanager, Al, it's a Tang orange drink. It reminds Al of a Tang orange drink. That's why I wanted to show you these dioxide patinas, because if you wanted to do a sculpture like this in bronze, you now have some really nice patinas that you can put on yourself with a heat gun. So you get maybe the normal ferric brown that the foundry will do, and just have them do an all over color like that, and then you bring it home. Now you have these yourself, you're layering them on and taking your heat gun out, and it anneals it to the bronze at about 200 degrees. So it's a whole new world of options that we didn't have years ago. Um, so anyway, I know my session's over for today, but so what I want to do is by Monday have at least some new plans done. Oops, he's fallen apart already until I uh, strengthen this whole thing, which I plan to do. But I'll have some new plans so that you can make that bird by itself with accurate proportions. And then we can put it on any kind of creative stand that you want. I just used a block of clay to stick my armature in. And um, so I'll let you all go and get ready for the next one on Monday. Hope to have a lot of progress and the new designs for the Western Tanager. So you can follow along if you want to. All right. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you guys for coming on. I so appreciate your support and help. It really encourages me and inspires me. Bye bye.